For 3 years, I poured everything into my nephew's startup. My expertise, my savings, my relationships. When I walked away, the family called me selfish. No one asked why. They just said I should have stuck it out, like my worth was measured only in what I could give others. Let me take you back to where it all began. The conference room walls seemed to close in as I watched my nephew Alex confidently present my work to potential investors. My marketing strategies, my client testimonials, my late-night innovations, all claimed with his boyish smile that my mother called his million-dollar grin. "And how did you develop such strong client relationships so quickly?" asked Marissa Chen, the lead investor. "I believe in personal connection," he answered smoothly. "I make sure every client knows they matter to us." Something fractured inside me. 3 weeks ago, I had spent an entire weekend helping our biggest client's marketing director move apartments after her partner left unexpectedly. I'd held her hand while she cried in her empty living room. I'd ordered Thai food and assembled IKEA furniture until 2 a.m. The following Monday, she signed a contract renewal that saved our quarter. Alex had sent her a gift basket with our logo on it. "Actually," I said, my voice sounding foreign even to myself, "I've developed most of our key client relationships." The room fell silent. Alex's smile froze. "Elaine handles some of our client communication," he said dismissively. "I handle all of our top-tier client relationships," I corrected, an unfamiliar calm descending. "I also developed our marketing strategy, created our brand voice, and wrote every piece of collateral we've produced, including this presentation." Marissa looked between us, her interest visibly shifting. "I'd love to hear more about your approach, Elaine. Client retention is one of our key metrics for investment." For 15 minutes, I spoke directly about our client relationship management, our marketing funnel, and how we turned customers into advocates. The investors engaged deeply, asking sharp questions that I answered with growing confidence. Alex sat rigid beside me, his leg jittering under the table, a nervous habit from childhood. When I finished, he jumped in with technical details, attempting to recapture control of the room. After the meeting, the elevator ride down was silent. In the lobby, Alex turned to me, his face flushed. "What the hell was that?" he hissed. "That was me doing my job," I replied evenly. "You made me look like I don't know my own company." "You don't know parts of your own company, Alex, the parts I've built." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture so like my brother that for a moment I felt a pang of familial loyalty. It passed quickly. "I need you to be a team player," he said. When we get this investment," I corrected him, "I want my role formalized. VP of Marketing and Client Relations with appropriate equity." He laughed, actually laughed. "Anna-Lane, come on. You know that's not how we structure things." "Then restructure them," I said, "or I walk." His face hardened. "Don't threaten me. My dad won't appreciate it." There it was, family card. As if my brother's disapproval should matter more than my own value. "This isn't about your dad," I said. "It's about me being recognized for my contribution." "We're family," he said, as if that explained everything. "We're supposed to support each other." Support goes both ways, Alex. My phone buzzed repeatedly that night. My brother, then my sister-in-law, then my mother. I silenced it and opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. This felt special enough, the moment I finally decided to value myself. I stared around my apartment, noticing the faded edges of my life outside work. The plant my daughter had given me last Christmas had withered from neglect. The book club I'd once loved had stopped sending invitations after I missed 6 meetings in a row. My refrigerator contained nothing but condiments and a half-empty bottle of white wine. For 3 years, I'd poured everything into Horizon Tech. I'd emptied my 401k when Alex couldn't make payroll last summer. I'd missed my daughter's college graduation to charm a potential client in Chicago. I'd canceled my knee surgery twice because Alex needed me for investor meetings. And still, at every family dinner, it was "Alex's company is doing so well, and we're so proud of what our boy has built." Never Elaine stepped in to save the business, or we couldn't have done it without Aunt Elaine. I sipped my wine and felt something unfamiliar. Anger, yes, but underneath it, a deep sadness for the woman who had allowed herself to become invisible. The next morning, I walked into the office and went straight to Alex's glass-walled corner office. He looked up, shadows under his eyes. "The investors called," he said before I could speak. "They want to meet with both of us again before making a decision." "That's good news. They specifically asked about your role in the company. They seemed concerned that you're not on the executive team." I nodded. "What did you tell them?" He looked away. "I explained that we're family, that titles don't matter as much to us." "Titles matter to me, Alex. So does equity. So does recognition." He sighed. "What do you want, Anna Lane?" "I want what I've earned." The meeting with our team later that day was tense. Alex introduced me as the person who's been helping with marketing, and I corrected him, VP of Marketing and Client Relations. He shot me a look, but didn't contradict me. That evening, my brother Stephen called. This time, I answered, "What are you doing to Alex's company?" he demanded without preamble. "It's our company, Stephen. I've invested 3 years and my retirement savings into it." "He's the founder. He's the visionary. You're there to support him, not undermine him." I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar weight of family expectations. Supporting doesn't mean being invisible. "This investment is huge for him, Elaine. Don't mess it up because your feelings are hurt." "My feelings aren't hurt," I said carefully. "My contribution isn't being valued. There's a difference." "Mom's upset about this whole thing. She says you've always had to be the center of attention." I nearly laughed at the absurdity. I'd spent my life being the reliable one, the one who showed up, who helped, who stayed in the background while others took credit. "I have to go, Stephen," I said, suddenly exhausted. "Fix this," he said before hanging up. Over the next week, the office atmosphere grew glacial. Alex communicated with me only through others, or in group settings. Our team members looked uncomfortable whenever we were in the same room. I kept doing my job. I finalized a major client contract. I launched a social media campaign that got picked up by several industry publications. I prepared for the second investor meeting with meticulous care. Each night, I would come home and sit in the stillness of my apartment, feeling the weight of decades of family dynamics pressing on me. I thought about all the times I'd stepped back to let my brother shine in school, all the family gatherings where I'd retreated to the kitchen to help my mother while Stephen and his wife held court in the living room. I thought about how I'd taught Alex to ride a bike when Stephen was too busy, how I'd helped him with his college applications, how I'd been the first to believe in his business idea. Always supporting, always in the background, the invisible framework that held everything together. The night before the meeting, my mother called. "Elaine, honey, what's this I hear about you and Alex having problems?" I sank onto my couch. "It's complicated, Mom." "Family shouldn't be complicated. Family supports each other. Even when it's one-sided?" She sighed. "Alex is just starting out. He needs guidance, not competition." "He's 32, Mom, and I'm not competing with him. I'm asking to be recognized for my work." "You've always been so independent," she said, as if it were a character flaw. "Some things are more important than getting credit." "Like what?" "Like family harmony. Like helping the next generation succeed." I thought about all the family dinners where Alex's business achievements were celebrated, where my brother beamed with pride, where no one asked about my contribution beyond, "How's it going helping Alex?" "I love you, Mom," I said, "but I need to do this my way." "You'll regret it if you damage your relationship with your nephew over something so small." But it wasn't small. It was 3 years of my life. It was my financial security. It was my professional identity. After hanging up, I sat in the dark of my living room for a long time. I thought about what my therapist had said months ago when I first mentioned feeling undervalued at work. Boundaries aren't walls to keep others out. They're definitions of where you begin and end. Where did I begin? Where did I end? For so long, my boundaries had been as porous as tissue paper when it came to family. The second investor meeting went even better than the first. Marissa and her team had clearly done their homework, asking detailed questions about our client retention strategies and marketing ROI. Alex was more prepared this time, making sure to acknowledge my role in various initiatives. But I could feel the tension in him, see it in the tight set of his shoulders. After the meeting, Marissa asked to speak with me privately. In a small conference room, she got straight to the point. "Your marketing strategies are impressive, Elaine, but I'm concerned about the company structure." I nodded, waiting. You're clearly a key driver of Horizon's success, but your title and equity don't reflect that. It makes me wonder about the company's ability to recognize and retain talent. I've been having those same conversations internally, I said carefully. I'll be blunt, she said. We're interested in investing, but we want to see the organizational structure formalized in a way that acknowledges key contributors, including you. When I told Alex about the conversation, his face went through a series of emotions: shock, anger, calculation, and finally resignation. Fine, he said. We'll draw up new agreements. VP of Marketing and Client Relations with 15% equity. I'd been thinking 30%, but it was a start. And a seat on the board. His jaw tightened. You're pushing it, Anna Lane. I'm asking for what I've earned. For a moment, I saw a flash of the little boy who used to follow me around, asking endless questions about how things worked. The little boy who had once written, "My aunt is my hero," on a school project about family. When had that changed? When had I become someone to use rather than someone to admire? The paperwork was being drawn up when things imploded. Alex called an all-hands meeting without including me, announced a new direction for our flagship product without consulting me, and hired a new marketing coordinator who reported directly to him. When I confronted him, he was unapologetic. The investors want changes, and I'm making them. By cutting me out? He shrugged. If you're going to be formally recognized, you need to stay in your lane. My lane includes client relationships that you're now interfering with. It's my company, Anna Lane. I decide the lanes. The next day, I found the new marketing coordinator at my desk, going through my files. When I asked what she was doing, she said Alex had asked her to get up to speed on all marketing materials. I walked straight to Alex's office. Through the glass, I could see him on the phone, smiling that $1,000,000 smile. I entered without knocking. We need to talk, I said when he hung up. I'm busy, Anna Lane. Can it wait? No, it can't. I closed the door behind me. You're undermining me systematically. Why? He leaned back in his chair, suddenly looking very much like the little boy who used to hide behind my legs at family gatherings. The investors want to see that I'm in control of my company. Our company. That's the problem, he said, leaning forward. Ever since that first meeting, they see it as our company. They question my authority. They ask about decisions I've made without consulting you. Maybe because those decisions affect areas I'm responsible for. I'm the founder, he said, his voice rising. This is my vision. You're here to execute my vision, not create your own. I felt a strange calm descend, the kind that comes with absolute clarity. Is that really what you think? That I'm just the help? He had the grace to look uncomfortable. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. I took a deep breath. The new agreements aren't finished yet, are they? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Were you ever planning to follow through? He looked down at his desk. I was hoping things would calm down, that you'd remember we're family. Family, I repeated. You keep using that word when it's convenient for you. I turned to leave, then paused. I'll be taking the rest of the day off. When I come back tomorrow, I expect the new marketing coordinator to be out of my office and my client files to be untouched. He didn't look up. Or what? Or I walk, and I take every client relationship I've built with me. I didn't go home. I went to my favorite coffee shop, ordered a latte, and started making calls. Not to clients, I wasn't ready to cross that line yet, but to industry contacts I'd maintained over the years. By evening, I had 3 potential job offers to consider. None of them perfect. None of them with the ownership stake I'd built at Horizon, but all of them with clear titles, clear expectations, and no family complications. My phone buzzed continuously. Alex, my brother, my mother. I silenced it and ordered dinner at the bar next door, eating alone with a paperback for company. It should have felt lonely, but instead it felt like the first moment of peace I'd had in months. As I ate my pasta, I thought about the patterns that had shaped my life. The expectation that I would be the support system, never the star. The way my mother had taught me to make myself small to avoid competing with my brother. The way I'd internalized the belief that my worth was measured by how much I could give to others, never by what I needed for myself. What would happen if I broke that pattern? What would happen if I simply said no? The next morning, I arrived at the office early. The marketing coordinator wasn't at my desk, which was something. But when I tried to log into our client management system, my credentials had been revoked. I went to our IT manager, who looked distinctly uncomfortable. Alex asked me to reset permissions last night, he said. Said it was a security measure. I need access to do my job, Dale. He nodded miserably. I know, but he's the CEO. I thanked him and went to my office, closing the door. For an hour, I sat at my desk, thinking. I remembered every late night, every strategic plan I'd created, every relationship I'd nurtured. I remembered the pride I'd felt when we landed our first major client, and the way Alex had taken all the credit at the next family dinner. I remembered my daughter saying, Mom, when are you going to do something for yourself? I packed my personal items into a small box, left my keycard on the desk, and walked out without saying goodbye to anyone. 3 hours later, my brother called, furious. What the hell, Elaine? Alex says you quit without notice. That's correct. You can't do that to him. The investment deal is pending. The clients are asking questions. You're sabotaging his company because of your ego. I closed my eyes, letting his anger wash over me. When he paused for breath, I said quietly, I've given everything to that company for 3 years. I asked for recognition. I was systematically sidelined instead. So you're just walking away? What about family loyalty? Loyalty goes both ways, Stephen. Mom is beside herself. She says you're tearing the family apart over business. The irony was almost too much. Interesting, since the family never seemed to believe my role in the business mattered until I left it. After I hung up, I blocked all their numbers. I needed space to think, to plan my next steps without the constant drumbeat of family obligation drowning out my own voice. That night, in the silence of my apartment, I cried. Not for the job I'd left, but for the decades I'd spent trying to earn approval that would never come. For the woman who had believed that her value was tied to her usefulness to others. For all the times I'd swallowed my needs to keep the peace. The first signs of trouble at Horizon appeared 2 weeks later. A former colleague called to say Alex had missed a major client meeting. Then another reached out to say their biggest client was threatening to pull their contract because the new marketing materials were completely off-brand. I stayed silent, focusing on my job interviews and consultant work that was already coming my way. Former clients reached out directly, asking if I could advise them independently. I started seeing a therapist again, unwrapping the complex tangle of family dynamics that had shaped me. You're in a transition, she said, from being defined by your relationships to defining them yourself. A month after I left, our flagship client, Westridge Solutions, hired me as a marketing consultant at double my former salary. We always knew you were the brains behind the operation, their CEO told me over lunch. 2 months after I left, industry blogs reported that Horizon's investment deal had fallen through. Marissa Chen was quoted saying they had concerns about the executive structure and long-term stability of the company. I bought a new plant for my apartment. I joined a weekend hiking group. I started having regular dinners with my daughter. Slowly, I began rebuilding the parts of my life that had withered while I was pouring everything into Alex's dream. 3 months after I left, I was having dinner with a friend when Alex's name appeared on my phone. I had unblocked the family numbers a few weeks earlier, though none of them had called. I excused myself and took the call outside the restaurant. Aunt Elaine? His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Hello, Alex. I think I made a mistake. I said nothing, waiting. A couple passed by, laughing together. A dog walker wrangled 3 energetic poodles. Life continuing all around, reminding me that my family drama was just one small part of a vast tapestry. The company's in trouble. We lost Westridge and Tech North, and the investment fell through. I heard. I need your help. I looked up at the night sky, at the few stars visible through the city lights. With what exactly? Everything, he said, and I heard a tremor in his voice. The marketing strategy is in shambles. The clients won't return my calls. Dad's been covering payroll, but he can't do it much longer. I'm sorry to hear that. Will you come back? We can renegotiate everything. Whatever equity you want. Your name on the door. Anything. I thought about it, really thought about it. About going back to those glass offices, about facing the team members who had watched me leave, about working with Alex every day. No, I said finally. I don't think that would be healthy for either of us. But we're family, he said, as if that explained everything, fixed everything. Yes, we are. And I hope someday we can be family who respect each other. But I can't work with you again, Alex. He was quiet for so long I thought he might have hung up. I didn't realize, he said finally, how much you were doing until you weren't there anymore. It was the closest thing to an apology or recognition I'd ever heard from him. Thank you for saying that, I said. So what do I do now? I sighed. That's up to you, Alex. It's your company. The family Christmas gathering was tense. My brother barely spoke to me. My mother kept shooting me worried glances. Alex arrived late, looking tired and drawn. I brought my daughter with me, her presence a calming anchor. She knew most of what had happened and had supported my decision with a fierceness that sometimes brought tears to my eyes. It's about time, Mom, she'd said. You've been everyone's support system for too long. During dinner, the conversation carefully avoided any mention of business, until my father, never one for social subtlety, asked Alex how things were going at his company. Alex looked down at his plate. We're restructuring. Restructuring how? My father pressed. We're downsizing the office, focusing on our core clients. Alex pushed his food around his plate, maybe developing some new products. My sister-in-law jumped in with news about their daughter's school play, and the conversation moved on. But I felt the weight of unspoken tension, the elephant in the room that no one wanted to acknowledge. As we cleared the table, my mother cornered me in the kitchen. You could have just stuck it out, she said quietly. Family businesses have ups and downs. He needed your support. I set the plates down carefully. Mom, I supported him for 3 years. I emptied my retirement account for that company. What I couldn't do was continue to be invisible. He's struggling now. I know, and I'm sorry for that, but I couldn't keep setting myself on fire to keep him warm. She shook her head. You always were stubborn. I prefer self-respecting. She looked at me then, really looked at me, perhaps seeing me clearly for the first time in years. You do seem different. I am different. I'm choosing myself for once. She frowned, not in disapproval exactly, but in confusion, as if the concept was foreign to her. And perhaps it was. She'd been my brother's cheerleader and my father's support system for 50 years. Is that allowed? Her expression seemed to ask. As I was gathering my coat to leave, Alex approached me in the hallway. Can we talk? He asked, his voice low. I nodded, and we stepped onto the front porch. The December air was crisp, our breath visible in small clouds. I've been thinking a lot, he said, about what happened. I waited, pulling my coat tighter around me. You were right, he said finally. About everything. I took credit for your work. I diminished your role. I treated you like an employee when you were really a partner. I hadn't expected this. Thank you for saying that. I was scared, he continued. Scared that if people knew how much you were doing, they wouldn't think I was capable on my own. And then when you left, he trailed off. You found out you actually weren't, I finished for him. He nodded, looking out at the street. Not in the same way. Not with the same clients. Not with the same vision. We stood in silence for a moment, our breath mingling in the cold air. I remembered him as a little boy, running to me with skinned knees and triumphant accomplishments. I remembered teaching him to swim, to ride a bike, to ask a girl to dance. I miss you, he said. Not just at work. I miss my aunt who used to take me for ice cream and tell me I could do anything. I miss you too, I admitted. The you who used to look up to me, not just see me as a tool for your success. He winced. I deserved that. Another silence fell between us, this one less heavy than before. I've been offered a partnership at a marketing firm, I said eventually. I start next month. Congratulations, he said, and it sounded genuine. You deserve it. What about you? What will you do with Horizon? He sighed. I'm thinking of pivoting. Something smaller, more focused. Something I can actually handle. I nodded. That sounds wise. He hesitated, then asked, Would you be willing to give me some advice sometimes? Not for free, he added quickly. I'd pay your consultant rate, but I could use someone who tells me the truth. I studied his face, the face I'd known since he was born, the face that had beamed with excitement when he first pitched Horizon to me 3 years ago. There was something different there now, a humility that hadn't existed before. I could do that, I said carefully. With clear boundaries. He nodded. Clear boundaries, I promise. As we turned to go back inside, he stopped with his hand on the doorknob. I am sorry, Anna Lane. Really sorry. I reached out and squeezed his arm gently. I know. Me too, in some ways. For what? You didn't do anything wrong. For not valuing myself enough to speak up sooner, for letting it get to the breaking point. He opened the door and warmth spilled out from the house, the mingled scents of pine, cinnamon, and family. For better or worse, family. Start over? He asked, his voice tentative. Not over, I said. Forward. With our eyes open this time. He nodded, and we stepped back into the light together. I knew it wouldn't be easy. Family patterns don't change overnight, but for the first time in my life, I was entering a relationship with my full self intact, not just the parts that were useful to others. And that, I realized, was the true victory. Not what I'd left behind, but what I'd finally claimed as mine.